Welcome to another exciting edition of Day 5 Guide Day. And I'm in the Smallmouth Crush studios. We're doing kind of a little bit of a collab week this week up in upstate New York. I went from the Bassmaster Open on Lake St. Clair, where I caught like 38 pounds, 37 and a half pounds of smallmouth and finished 80th. And then came up here for 3 days. And then I've been hanging out with Travis, was on Smallmouth Crush last night with the guys who, the guy who caught the 12 and a half pound largemouth for the New York State record. Pretty unbelievable out of Cayuga. But one of the features that I do on a monthly basis on BTL is Guide Day, where you take different guides from across the country, you specialize in different things and kind of break down how you got into it, what it is, what you guide for, the whole 9 yards. And obviously I wanted to do a guide day with you since you are a full-time guide on Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence River. Get a little bit of your background, your story on how you got into it. I know you've guided literally all over the country over the past 15 years and have kind of settled down here. So Travis, you have Smallmouth Crush, which obviously focuses on smallmouth, the YouTube channel, the guide service, but like just start out by talking a little bit about the fishery that is Thousand Islands and Lake Ontario and what it has to offer outside of the 4, 5, 6, 7 pound smallmouth that it is famous for in the bass fishing world.
Right. So up here on the St. Lawrence River, Lake Ontario, huge body of water, obviously. I can't cover it all, so I really focus on the Eastern Basin and then all the way up into the river, I would say around Ogdensburg area.
Okay.
To the mouth. So it's a huge stretch. When you book a trip with me, you'll get an email with probably 15 different boat ramps, and we really determine where the bite is, weather conditions, things like that, where we're going to launch, during the actual guide trip. So it's probably, really, if you look at it from Oswego to Ogdensburg, there's hundreds of miles of shoreline. Okay. So it's a lot of water to cover.
All right, we'll circle back to that. I want to know how you got into this because you're originally a Wisconsin guy.
So actually, my first official guide trip was back in 1998. I don't know if you ever knew that.
I did not.
Yeah. And it was for waterfowl. So
you had to be like 16?
I was just out of high school. Well, I was
17?
still in high school. 18.
It was a bird trip.
We shot some ducks. Some guy reached out to me on, I don't even know if it was Facebook back then. It was like some duck hunting
MySpace?
Forum. Could be MySpace. And
did you have a MySpace?
I did.
You did?
Sure.
With like the music on it and everything?
I don't remember that.
Oh, yes, you do. You probably remember what song you had.
I do.
What was your MySpace page?
I don't have a song. I don't even know if I have it. But anyways,
I bet it was Hanson.
It could have been. So some guy reached out to me, not a guy, actually turned into a good friend of mine. We spent quite a few years chasing walleyes after that and fished some team tournaments together. But it really started out duck hunting. And then I had to get a real job at some point, after college, and really just sat behind a computer for many, many years until I would say like 2012, 13. 2014 is probably when I started getting back into guiding, but on the fishing side. So I guide on the Chesapeake Bay back in the day for largemouth down there in Maryland, the upper Chesapeake, and did that for, many years up until last year when I made the move full-time up in this region. Prior to that, I would come up here during the summer months, 2 weeks on and then 2 weeks back on the Chesapeake and went back and forth. And so it was ultimately the right move was to just have home base up here.
So how did you learn this fishery then?
Just a lot of time on the water.
Like you just came up, you liked it. Did you fish it?
Well, I came up way before I started guiding. My first time up here was 2012. And I would make trips up here almost every weekend once I moved to Pennsylvania.
Which is how far?
About 5 hours.
Okay, so
I'd make 1-day trips up here. Like
you drive up, fish, and then
yeah.
drive home.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's strong.
Yeah. So just a lot of time. And I would say I've been out here now, like hardcore guiding prior to moving up, at least 4 years before that.
Okay, and then we're in the Smallmouth Crush studios. You moved up here. You've got.
Yeah.
We were just out in the aluminum.
We were out in the Lund.
20 miles out in Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
That's why we're a little weather
Oh.
beaten tonight. But I did get my first lake trout
You did
tonight. Very excited on that. I'd say 12 to 13 pounder.
Yeah, it seems about
That's
right.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And then you've got the Camus in the Smallmouth Crush garage. It's all decked out with 8 billion spinning rods and reels and all
Right.
sorts of crazy stuff.
43 to be exact.
43. But what is the season then? Because you're up here full time. So
Yes. So one of the reasons why I'm expanding the guide service is because we have a pretty crazy season. It's closed basically 6 months out of the year
in New York.
in New York. Yes. So I can guide June 15th through the end of November for smallmouth. And then Canada lets me do a little fishing during the pre-spawn up until May 10th. So I guide the Canadian season and then the New York season. So I have a good month off between middle of May to the middle of June. And realistically, after November 30th, I would still get out there probably into December. But then, of course, we have the bays freeze over and it gets a little cold up here. So expanding into ice fishing this coming winter, primarily focusing on walleyes and perch. And then we also do a little bit of salmon and steelhead in the tributaries. So that's in the fall. September, October would be the salmon. And then the steelhead would be November, through the spring in the tributaries up here. So we guide for that. Also guide for waterfowl up here, primarily sea ducks. So that's kind of an exciting thing. There's a lot of waterfowl hunters that don't get to experience that type of duck hunting across the country. It's really based on the coastal areas and the Great Lakes get these birds that really come from the Arctic Circle. And that's where they winter down here on Lake Ontario. So
what is a sea duck?
A sea duck would be like a scoter. There's different.
What's a scoter?
Commons, surf scoter, white winged scoter.
I gotta pull one up.
And then we also shoot a bunch of longtails, or what they politically incorrect now, but they used to be called old squaws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, that's a immature one. That's a harlequin. There's a surf scoter.
You shoot those?
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen one standing on the shoreline like that, but
let's see if I can.
we got a neat little.
Look at that thing. That looks like a puffin.
Right?
It looks like you're shooting a puffin. So the months for the hunting stuff. I know like nothing about hunting.
Yeah, that would be mid-November.
Okay.
Into December for the sea ducks.
And then let's just do the species. Let's start out in January and go through December.
Okay,
and
January's going to be not a whole lot going on.
You're not ice fishing that?
Ice wouldn't be quite yet ready. Be pretty soon.
Okay.
February, March would be perch and walleyes through the ice.
So that's take a 4-wheeler out, drive out, walk out.
Walk and 4-wheel.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
there's no limit on perch up here, which is kind of cool.
Yellow perch.
Yellow perch. Yep.
And just like little ice jigs and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
So then March, April
would be steelhead in the tributaries, but we also go out on the main lake and troll for brown trout. So there is some brown trout trolling going on there.
Oh, I didn't even have that in the list.
That's all right.
So is that wading or is that
in the boat trolling? Kind of what we did today, but with planer boards. And,
no, the steelhead and stuff.
Oh, steelhead would be well, yes and no. It could be with waders, but it could also be in a boat. It could be in a boat and waders at the same time, getting to areas and then fishing from with your waders or just fishing out the boat.
What's a good day for steelhead? When I was up in Alaska, it was like hope to catch like 2 or 3 in a day.
I mean, I hope to get 6 to 8.
That's a decent day up here.
Maybe more. You could have some real good days.
With like egg sacs or artificials or
mostly beads under a float.
So like the little 6 millimeter beads that they think is like a salmon egg or something
8,
like
10,
that.
12. Yep.
And you just float it down the river.
You're drifting in the river with them.
10-foot rod.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that's fun. Cool. And then they live out in Lake Ontario.
Then they head out to Lake Ontario, and I'm not quite, we went out in the Lund today and did some trolling. I'm just not
dialed yet on that.
They dialed. I think the boat isn't quite. It's not the deal for offshore salmon and trout.
Okay.
You need a bigger boat. So I probably will never guide for trolling for salmon and trout during the summer months like we are now. I like to do it for fun, but we have a 20-foot Lund, which is great for walleye trolling and things like that. But you saw how sketchy it got out there.
I wouldn't say it was sketchy. I mean, you also know what you're doing, but I mean, you're in a 20-foot aluminum in Lake Ontario and 6-footers.
Right.
I mean,
exactly. We're not one of the big charter boats, that's for sure.
Full disclosure, we were fully life vested, buttoned up, kill switch engaged. People knew where we were. And Travis took it slow. Literally, we went out in the mouth and he said, we'll see how it looks. We'll see what. And
we made it.
I felt safe the entire time.
Yeah. It was just kind of uncomfortable at times. But
you did lose a rod and reel.
I did lose a whole rod and reel today.
It just.
A Shimano line counter, like a 600 series, and then a St. Croix salmon rod just shot out of the rod holder. We don't know if a fish grabbed it because we weren't really paying attention.
But it couldn't have because it was on a downrigger.
Right, but it could have popped and we didn't know. Yeah. Could have happened that
you would have thought it would have.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Let's look back and there was a rod gone.
So that's that. And then you said starting May 10th?
Well, that's when the season closed. So really April through May 10th would be hardcore smallmouth fishing. This season we had 12 over 7 pounds, I believe.
Holy smoke.
Yeah. So we get some really good fish and numbers.
Wow. Primarily, how are you fishing for those?
Okay, so for that early season.
Yeah, early season. Let's just stick with that now.
Primarily, I try to keep things real simple. Finesse baits, Ned rigs, football heads. Yeah, Ned rigs and football heads.
Ned rigs and football heads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were actually on BTL. We were gonna do like this kind of show while you fished,
we had bad service that day.
Well, you're in Canada on Lake Ontario, so it's not a great signal over there. But
and I should say this, for the experienced angler, there's a lot of other opportunities. I mean, jerk baits, swim baits, things like that. Depending on your skill level, I'm just saying Neds and football will get the job done.
But you were saying before that show that was like, hey, you were like, hey, bud, like I'm on them, like we'll catch fish during the live show. And I think you caught like 1 5-pounder while we were live. But do they really group up that time of the year pre-spawn?
Yes. You normally can find huge groups.
Like what's a huge group?
I can sit in one spot and not have to leave.
And catch how many?
Hundreds.
Oh, really? They're that.
Yeah.
They like funnel into pre-spawn.
No, I mean, it's not like that every day, but it's common.
As a whole.
Yep.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So then it opens in America on June. A month later.
Yep. So
and that's like, is that when everything is pretty much wide open then?
Yes. Well, we have to wait to get back into Canada until the first Saturday in July.
Oh, okay.
But I would be in the New York waters that early season.
Okay.
And for that, we run full day trips, and then we do like a half day afternoon trip as well. That goes through November.
Okay, so then that's what we're in right now. We're recording this in July, August, September, October, and into early November.
If I can find people that are willing to come up in November, late November, be a pretty cool experience.
So why are people hesitant, and then what makes that a cool experience?
I think hunting gets in the way with
Okay.
some people. I think the colder temperatures, you got to be a hardcore bass angler.
Like, what's a November day? Are we talking
Well,
30s, 40s?
It could be 60 or it could be rainy
Snowing.
and 30. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It really depends. But the fish bite, they get grouped up again. And it's just a fun time of the year to fish. Really is.
I had Big JP on.
Yep.
You kind of it sounds like he kind of gave you credit for getting him into
Sure.
a lot of the guiding and doing some things. So he went over in that guide day episode a lot of characteristics about the St. Lawrence River, about Lake Ontario. But just kind of describe, like you mentioned it at the beginning, but like what the fishery has to offer as far as different styles, cover, structure, water clarity, that type of thing, all the way out into Lake Ontario.
So I guess for a guide trip, I really like to customize the trip based on what the customer wants. So if somebody wants to learn electronics, if somebody just wants to go out and have fun and catch fish, if someone wants to target bigger fish, if someone wants to learn how to drop shot deep, someone wants to learn how to finesse, someone wants to learn how to drift. There's so many different styles and ways to fish up here that we try to customize the trip based on what they're looking for. And so it's really endless. If they want to go learn the lake more, if they want to learn the river, I have people that just want experience getting their gear and boat set up right to be able to handle and just see, firsthand what it all entails. And so, we really try to stay on top of that. I basically call the night before, look at the weather, determine where we're going to launch the next day. And then I ask them, what type of experience are you looking for? And most people just want to catch fish. Yeah. So that's what we do.
I will say, from my experience, having dumped in a lot of different new fisheries over the past 5 years, the first time the opens came up here, there was just like a 5-day off limits before practice started. Yep. And I grilled you, and I came up before, and I spent 8 days by myself out here. It's a very intimidating fishery based on what it has to offer because of how big the lake is, and then the current in the river, and then so much rock.
If I didn't know anything, I wouldn't even know where to start either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it. I totally get it.
It's definitely one of those places where just a couple days with someone with experience at least gives you a starting point to then explore and learn on your own.
Especially for smallmouth, it's not as easy as people think. There's so many things that go into it that are going to help you, have a better experience out here, from the gear that you use, the rod action, the way you work a bait, just how you think during the day and how you approach these fish. And then also commitment to an area, right? Like there's days where we're going to commit to a spot and the weather's going to dictate what we do that day. We might not be able to run all over the place. So you have to I kind of break it down in zones and then go about the day based on the conditions.
So you just kind of say this is the zone for the day. This is what we're doing based on what.
Sure. Okay. Not everything is, and believe it, we do have beautiful, gorgeous days where it's nice and calm. It's not all the horror stories that you hear, but we also have,
on average, if you book a 3-day trip, are you going to have one day where you got a little bit of wind at least, and you have a potential for all three, but you also have a potential for three days slick and sunny?
Yes, both. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's always places to fish. So we don't cancel trips or anything like that. We'll get out there.
So even if it is windy, it's not like a Lake Erie scenario where you just are like, hey, we're staying in today. Sure. How to duck out, get into the rivers. If you're traveling,
we'll be out there.
Do you have a lot of people who fly into Syracuse?
Yeah. So I would say 50% of my clients fly in.
Okay.
And there's Syracuse, or there's a little airport here in Watertown that has 2 flights a day. So it's not difficult. Syracuse is only an hour drive, and it's gorgeous. And you know, there's two different types of anglers. There's angler that might bring their family, and then there's angler that just doesn't care about anything else but fishing. So you can have the chain stores, the chain hotels here in Watertown, or you can have more of like the river experience and hang out some of the smaller communities along the river, which are pretty cool. There's a lot to do.
Like
it's a very
in Cape Vincent.
It's a very tourist oriented place as well. So it's not just anglers that are up here. There's everybody's up here in the summer.
I like it. You mentioned the families thing. Do you get a lot of father-daughter, father-son, mothers, kids, families?
I do. I get a mixture of that.
Okay. And how is that? Like, can you take a kid who likes to fish but isn't that experienced and
Yeah.
they can catch fish up here?
Absolutely. Yep. We do. That's what we do. A lot of half-day trips.
Okay.
A lot of half-day trips are for tourists that are up here and they just want to go out for 4 hours or so and mess around in the afternoon, which is perfect. After a guide trip to just get them on the river and catch some fish. So, like I said, we can cater pretty much to whatever.
You've talked about that. One of the coolest kind of unique things is you've got this river and then it literally opens up into Lake Ontario. There's some famous islands, some famous areas out there that a lot of people have heard about, have been made famous also in Elite Series events and
Sure.
FLW events. For a guy who wants to experience big smallmouth on the lake, like what would you say is the ideal time to come up and get on the Lake Ontario giants?
So everyone asks me that question.
Okay, well I just did too.
And it's I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody. There is no bad time to come up.
Really?
There really isn't. I can't think of a bad time. I mean, we have a
When's
short
the best
season.
time?
Like,
or is it? I mean,
well, it's based on what you want, right?
Okay.
If you're looking for, if you want like a true summer pattern, guaranteed, there's gonna be some fish shallow. You can sight fish for cruisers up shallow, or you can go deep. After the transition of the spawn, I would say mid-July through end of September. And some of our summer patterns have been going into October yet. If someone's looking for that hardcore late season bite, I tell everyone late October
early
into November as far as you want to go.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're into, we have amazing spawn fishing during the spawn up here, which is, I guess I would say it gets complicated, right? You're doing a lot of flogging, looking for beds, things like that. And there's a lot that goes into that, but that's a great experience for someone who's never done that as well. So there's a lot that we can do when it comes to smallmouth fishing.
I like it. Have you done many combo trips? Because so this week, I've got the cat here, but we've also done some fishing together.
Yeah.
I've caught an 8-13 walleye. I've caught a 13 to 15 pound lake trout. I've caught a 13-inch yellow perch. I got on a hellacious drum bite.
Right.
I've caught a 5-pound smallmouth. Do you get people who want to do multi-species? Is that something that you're really kind of looking to expand, it sounds like, over the last couple of years?
Honestly, I thought that this Lund would be used more, right? I'm so busy bass fishing that it's hard to find the time to be able to do all of that. But if someone wants a walleye trip, if they're interested in trolling for walleyes or jigging, we can do that. I have a lot of bass guys that would like to catch some walleyes for dinner. And so a lot of times we'll just accidentally, or I know kind of where they live, and we'll just run over and grab our limit real quick and continue on with the bass fishing.
This is a world-class walleye fishery.
Yeah, there's some huge walleyes.
I mean, world-class. I caught 2 walleye yesterday or 2 days ago, and it was an 8-13 and a 6-11.
Yeah.
Those were the 2 walleye.
Sure. It's good walleye fishing too, for sure. I don't have the time to. But
if someone wants to come up and do that, you're
Absolutely.
talking trolling, planer boards, the whole 9 yards.
Yep, we can definitely do that.
And you enjoy doing that.
I love it. It's fun. Change of pace for sure.
Huh.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
largemouth wise, one of
Yeah.
the things I have done a couple years ago with you is you were like, hey, bud, let's just dip into this bay here.
Sure.
And I just remember there was a grass mat. It was probably about the size of like an above ground pool, a classy above ground pool.
Uh-huh.
And I think we caught like 11 or 12 fish out of that single grass.
Sure.
I mean, it was just do on a frog, flipping it,
Yep.
punching it. This is a pretty killer largemouth fishery as well, too, right?
It is. We're not going to get the size, right? A
Yeah.
5-pounder is going to be big, but it's loaded with them.
Have you ever had anyone who came up that was like, let's go largie fishing?
I've had people talk about it, but they've never, they never committed to like a full day of just largemouth fishing. Not yet, anyways.
See, here's what
That's what I do for fun. Like if
this
I'm
is
done
what
with
we were
smallmouth,
talking
I'll go.
about in the truck on the way back from the lake tonight.
Mhm.
I was like, dude, with what you have, and I've experienced a lot of it with you, I think it's like the perfect opportunity to put together a St. Lawrence Lake, Ontario experience package.
Right.
Walleye, yellow perch,
Sure.
trout,
Mm-hmm.
smallmouth, the whole 9 yards, a 3-day, 4-night excursion where
Yeah.
you kind of break it up into half days.
Right.
I think there's something there. Like if I was wanting to experience it, if I had heard about it, and I am a multi-species angler, which
Mhm.
I am, I love bass
You do,
fishing, but
yeah.
like I brought a dozen night crawlers in case I saw something that wouldn't hit my plastics.
Right.
And they were drum. But
Yeah.
but I think that is a really cool opportunity, and there's not that many people out there that can offer that wide array of guiding
Sure.
on the same fishery and have like not just catch fish, but literally world-class fish of all those species.
Right. Yeah, we could do that for sure.
You need to.
I need to. All right.
You need to do that. So if you were to pick your favorite technique, the way you like them, you get 1 day to fish the St. Lawrence, one day left. That's it. And you
Okay.
get daylight to dark. Like, what are you doing technique wise? Are you in the lake? Are you in the river? Like, what is your dream day that just really gets you going for the smallies?
Probably sight fishing for cruising fish up shallow.
So walk me through that, because that's something that
Okay.
I don't think a lot of people understand
All
what
right.
this is.
So if you have high sun and calm conditions, I mean, you can target them shallow regardless of conditions, but it just helps to have high sun. I want to visually hunt the fish that I'm targeting. So I want to be able to see them and then throw baits to them, see how they react, and pick out the big ones, if you will.
Water clarity is what, 30 feet?
Water clarity really varies. It's pretty cool being out here during the early season in April and being able to see down 50 feet.
5-0
5-0.
on the bottom.
Yes, on a calm, slick day.
Do you see fish down there?
Yeah, they look a little
Tiny?
it's a little better when they're in that 10 to 25. But yeah, you can see fish. But you're just going along and you're hunting. But I guess my favorite way to I like a finesse bait, like a Ned rig.
Okay.
But I fish it a lot differently than most. We were just talking when you saw my setup. I use I guess it'd be equivalent, probably an 1/8 ounce head, but I'll fish that down to 40, 50 feet.
Holy cow.
And it's a really cool little bite. And it's a very effective way to fish, but it takes, if you're not used to fishing that way, it's a very, very hard technique to really, it's not as simple as just throwing out a net rig and bringing it back in. There's a lot that goes into it, but I love that bite, especially when I know there's fish around and
just
you're out deep. Like if I see a bunch on the graph in 40 feet of water, I'll throw that net out and keep that bail open and just, in 2 minutes, it'll hit the bottom. And then, no, seriously. And then you don't even move the bait, really. You just wait. A little movement, and it feels like a goby bite, just a little tick, and then you set the hook, and it's a giant. That's probably my favorite way to fish.
So you mentioned giants.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have to deal with a lot of expectations of people who get into your boats and think 6, 7 pound smallmouth are just going to be flopping all over the front deck all day.
Right.
Realistically, talk about what the average client, the average guest can experience, both number and size wise, over a typical day of bass fishing.
It's my goal every day to have a 25-pound day, right?
Really?
For 5. Doesn't always happen.
What percentage of the time would you say a 5 pound average happens?
Depends on the conditions. If it's perfect conditions, we can get the job done.
Wow.
Yeah. If it's, I shouldn't even say if it's blowing, because we can still get the job done. But I guess that's just my expectations I put on myself for a guide trip. But really, it does come down to angler experience as well.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. I can take you to where they live and show you them, but and I can teach you how to hold the rod and what to do, and I can tell you a dozen times over throughout the day, but you got to stick to it, and you got to be focused too. I know it's a pretty area, but let's watch our line. Let's not look at the castles and the lighthouses. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Numbers wise, like I said, I just came from St. Clair where we were catching 100 a day.
Oh yeah, you can catch 100 fish a day here for sure, or you can catch 20.
And it just kind of depends. What's would you as a giant up here like what's would you say you average 1x fish a week or a month or whatever?
Yeah, I think we'll have, this was a slower week because we're in a transition. We'll have 5 or 6 plus heavy 6s a week.
A week.
Yeah. You could have a 30-pound day too, though. Don't get me wrong.
What's your best day ever out here?
Ooh. Gosh.
Like you don't have one day that just stick the GLF guys didn't Dan have like a
sure,
like a 30?
Yeah, we've had days where we don't even take the scale out, or we know 5-pounders don't even get a picture. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. 4-pounders in the spring are like a nuisance.
I mean, they're still fun. Jim's got it right. He said
smallmouth
in the morning, largemouth at noon, and walleyes at dusk.
I like that.
I think you got something going on here. I think you got something here with the. I think you need to offer a customizable experience. For 1,000 islands.
Right. I like it. Seems like a lot of work.
Well, I mean, you charge a premium.
Go launch my bass boat and just. I need some time for myself, man. You know how many times I fished this year?
How many?
Not many.
Equipment wise, let's get through that. Okay. What are you running? What do people need to bring?
Yep. Okay, good.
That whole thing.
All right. So you'll have a fully rigged bass boat. You have life jackets. You'll have all my gear. I use only high-end St. Croix rods, high-end reels, like everything.
Walk through it. It's insane. Like the stuff that you use. Like your combos are immaculate.
Yeah. I keep everything in extremely good shape.
Like $600 rods.
You use the same stuff I would use in a tournament.
That's the truth. Like, I mean, I walked down in his garage and he's got a trip tomorrow and he literally has, what are they? The Legend Extremes.
Extremes. Everything's ready to go.
Yeah.
We rig every night. Everything's retied every night after a trip. Plenty of rods and rod locker for things that pop up that we need to, different technique or whatever we need. I mean, I have my, like tomorrow, I have some clients. I've guided them now probably 4 years in a row. And so I know them fairly well, but I know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be I checked the weather conditions. We're probably not going to be on the lake. We're going to be drifting. So I'm going to have some football heads tied on, some Ned rigs, some drop shots. But if you're drop shotting shallow versus deep versus the river, those are 3 different rods and different setups, really. Mm-hmm. So I like to have everything ready to go. And plus, I'm a tournament angler, right? So, if I'm in a tournament, I want to have 6 different drop shot rods ready to go just for myself. Mm-hmm. So that's the norm for me. We'll just have everything available. So you don't really need any gear. You're welcome to bring your own rods and reels. Oftentimes that doesn't work out, right? They might have like some really heavy braid on or something, you know. It's just I'd rather you use but we can also talk in advance and I can tell you
but
exactly.
No problem. If you're up in New York visiting family, have business in Syracuse or whatever, you can literally show up at the boat ramp, get in the boat,
rain gear, sunglasses. That's all I ask.
Okay.
Make sure you're bringing rain gear, regardless of conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got soaked tonight.
Well, that guy didn't have his rain gear yesterday.
Really?
We went out. Your buddy.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah.
Had to borrow.
Yeah.
Well, I think you almost forgot it too.
No, yeah, I grabbed mine.
At least you brought your life jacket today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story that we talked about on the last podcast.
You mentioned the half days and full days. What's a full day entail as far as time wise?
Sure.
And then second half to that, can you get the experience, catch fish, get on fish in a half day, or would you recommend a full day?
No, we can definitely do that. So a full day is going to run 6 o'clock until 1. Oftentimes I go over. I'm having fun out there too. But afternoon trips will start at 2 o'clock and they go till 6.
Okay. So 5 hours. And
typically it's where I leave, you know, that morning is where I would meet you for the afternoon trip.
Okay.
And a lot of planning goes on as far as the weather and stuff like that to determine. And sometimes we have to make an audible. Even in the morning, like I think yesterday morning, I had to call the guy at 5 a.m. We're supposed to meet at 6, and you know the weatherman changed his forecast, and I said we're going to a different ramp today. So
I like it.
Yeah, it works.
Do you want to do more of the multi-species stuff?
I don't, man. You keep talking me into that. Yeah, we could do if someone wants to do something like that.
I'm just
sure.
I know we talked about this, and it's the bass thing and everything, but like
it's a lot of work. You got to understand. Like I'd have to drive home, get another boat. Like there's a lot of time in there.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
but if you knew in advance, like a guy wanted to do a full walleye and perch day.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As a just an angler who likes to experience different types of fishies, I like catching those different types, and it's like world class up here.
Yes,
on doing that.
And you know, by the way, like JP helps me out with trips. So if I have, which is really one of the biggest reasons I wanted him to start to get his guide's license, is because I just got so booked at times where it's nice to be able to just refer someone else that you trust and know, and he knows how to put fish in the boat as well. So even though I might be booked, we can still get you out on the water, hopefully.
How many days a year do you guide? Like, what's your availability like for the rest of the 24 season? And then are you already booking into 25?
So my spring season for next year is, I'm going to call it full.
Okay.
Except I don't think I have an afternoon trip yet. So that's wide open. It's you got to try to, I would say, get a hold of me if you want next year prime dates, or at least have availability. It's got to be by December of this year.
Okay.
December, January
of 24.
Yeah.
And hit you up on smallmouthcrush.com.
Yes. It's just, I still have, I'll have days pop up for sure. And we definitely have some days in September, October, November this year. It's not going to be prime dates, like as far as like weekends and things like that. But in all honesty, I try to just guide Monday through Friday, except during the busy times, or I guess during the short season in Canada, I'll guide every day.
Okay.
And then the opener. So June 15th through, I would say, the second week in July, I go every day as well. But I try to take Saturdays off for tournaments, which we just haven't had too many around here lately. Unfortunately, there's the big guys come here and the opens, and there's a few lower level tournaments, but there isn't enough team events up here, in my opinion. Like I'd love to fish every Saturday, and I'm lucky if there's one once a month. Yeah.
Great place for the family too. Like someone I saw in the mentions here ask about the pontoon cruises.
Well, that's one idea I wanted to do. So, and I think I might do this eventually. I think we do like an evening cruise.
Yeah.
5 o'clock until dark.
If you bring the family out
some
and you
wine
take
and
them,
cheese,
take
show
them
them
by
all
Singer
the
Castle,
all
and
the
stuff.
scenery. Yeah.
Yeah, I think your mouse stopped working.
Oh,
Did it?
I don't know, but I don't have a pontoon yet.
Oh.
Nor do I have the space for one.
You put it next to the house there.
I'd rather get
tried that with
I want to get an airboat next.
For here?
Yeah.
Oh, for duck hunting?
Duck hunting, ice fishing. Yeah.
Do you have another battery? Because we can't end the show. We literally
We
can't end the show
now.
We're locked on live.
Well, I can't even open the battery case right now. My hands are all greasy from that lake trout. There you go. All you got to do is shuffle the battery around.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because I already tried that.
You took it out?
Yeah. You didn't see that?
Geez.
I did it like low key while we were talking.
All right. Yeah, we got a bad mouse, guys.
Do you have batteries right here?
Look in the drawers.
There's got to be batteries somewhere.
Oh, here's a remote.
You have hand cream.
How do you open that remote?
I don't think this remote has. Oh. You don't have a AA battery sitting around?
I'm scared.
Oh, here we go. I got it. Hold on.
Bear with us, guys.
Oh, these are AAA.
That's AA.
Yeah, that's AA. That's
This
not
can't
gonna
be
work.
that complicated. All right, bear with
Do you
me.
not have a AA?
I'll go get one.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
So when Travis comes back, we'll get into kind of what it costs to do a trip like this. I would say, like, you know, if you have your own boat, you're a bass fisherman, a tournament bass fisherman, this is definitely a bucket list trip. You know, I talked with JP about this before. I would put, you know, Mille Lacs, an Erie out of Buffalo or Sandusky. We talked with Michael Simonton talking about, you know, guiding trips out there at the Bass Island, and then St. Clair, and then definitely Thousand Islands. We're back on the. Okay.
Right, we got your battery.
What kind of batteries are those?
They're from Amazon.
Really?
Yeah.
Still doesn't work.
It doesn't work?
No. Oh, it's off. There we go. Okay.
Put that cover back on, bud.
All right. Cost wise, how much does it cost to get out with you? Half day, full day, that type of thing.
All right, it's $800 for a full day, and I think it's $550 for a half day for 2025.
Okay.
Is it 2024?
It's 2024 right now.
Yeah, next year. Yep.
Okay.
So it's not too bad. A couple things. So I pride myself in working very hard, right, to put people on fish. I'm not going to sit in a bay and try not to burn more than 8 gallons of gas.
Dude, I saw you running all over the damn river 2 days ago
Our
when
gas,
I was out.
The fuel bill per day is well over $100 easy.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to like just take you out in the river and sit there and bob around. We're running. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And all catch and release, but a lot of guys, I would assume, take measurements and pictures for replicas.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I get so many requests. Like I probably should take one of them. They all want to know the girth and stuff. I don't know.
You don't have a soft tape measure?
Should, I guess.
You should have a safe. What did you just have? They do just fishing line usually.
Yeah, they've done that. They've gotten creative. Also do so I do a lot of video, and obviously on my YouTube channel, but we also offer a taped version of the day, just like I would put on YouTube. Really? So yeah. So
that's cool. So you can go back and show your buddies all your 5-pounders.
Tape it. I'll edit it and put all that together as well for you. So that's part of the package, or part of the things that I offer as well for the trip. So
very cool. You're so passionate about it. I can tell. I mean, every time I've been here, you're like literally like planning, plotting, working, looking at the weather,
basically
talking
my life
to your clients.
Obsessed with this because that's
and now catching a salmon out of the water.
Right, that too. But I have to be prepared. Like tomorrow I got a double, right? So what time is it now? It's like 11:15, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get up at 4, be on the road by, I'm meeting in Clayton, so it's only a half hour. So I got to leave by 5:30, meet the clients, get on the water, fish till 1, pick up my next trip at 2, fish until 6.
Good Lord.
Won't be home until 7, and then you have to rig up. I pressure wash the boat every day before it goes in the garage, and then so it's clean up and then rigging.
Yeah.
So no paperwork or business gets done. I try to follow up with all my emails as best as I can. I have a pretty good system with logging clients and stuff, but some things do slip through the cracks. So if you do email me and you don't hear back, or the thing is, there's so many different ways of social media. So I got people asking me on Instagram, the Facebook Messenger, the text messages. It's like I can't keep track of everything. Yeah. So just call me too. That works.
That'll work. Yeah. This is a good question. Do you do anything about like big water driving or navigation during the trip?
Sure. We talk about all that. And, man, I've been blown away by the guys that they want to learn, what props, what just because they want to it's some serious stuff out there.
And you have it all. I mean, you've run all the different stuff. You have two 16s and a 13 up front, two 12s at the dash.
Yeah. So
you have 360.
Regardless, listen, if you're anti-live scope, we can go fish blind if you want.
Oh, I've fished blind 80% of the week this week that I've been here.
But if you're into electronics, I'm your guy for that too, because that's a lot of fun. It's very convenient. We don't have to waste too much time wondering if there's fish around. And there's an art to it, of course, which I love trying to explain. Trying to get your distance, your cast angles, all of that down, as well as battle 3 to 4 footers at times.
What is the percent odds? Like, give yourself a 90%, 80% that you guys boat, that there's at least one 5-pound smallmouth in your boat tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we'll get a 5.
Like a percentage.
80.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, just a 5. That's easy enough.
6.
Now we're gonna lower to
50.
With my guys tomorrow?
Yeah. No, just
wait a second.
Not that. Nope. Just on average.
Dude caught this same guy guided 2 years ago. Caught a 6-pounder sitting in the folding chair in the back, casting a Cinco, while I was trying to teach his buddy how to Ned rig deep. So it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible.
If you're a average tournament fisherman, you know your way around the boat.
If you know how to work a rod,
and you come up for 3 days.
Oh yeah. Well,
what are the odds that you'll get a shot at least of a 6-pound small?
Good. If you can.
I mean, you can never say 100.
If you can work a bait, yeah.
I like it. Anything else that you think I've left out on this, Travis? Before I let you go,
I think we certainly covered a lot. Yeah,
we did cover a lot. All right, smallmouthcrush.com for all that. Also, thank you for letting me take over the Smallmouth Crush studio for a couple of nights. Yeah. I'm headed up. I'm not really sure what my plan is, but Jody White, who is with MLF, he actually won the Open on Thousand Islands last time they were here. We're going to go mess around on some secret lakes in New York before I head to, it's off limits right now, the Bass Nation Regional on Lake Champlain next week. So a couple more days. All right. I think that's all we got for tonight's show. There's the music that we'll bring in. You got to get a little sleep. I see you right there. There's your little notice. Guide trip. Tomorrow. All right. This has been another edition of Guide Day. Travis Manson on the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario. Next show will be Thursday. Frank Scalish will talk about gaining confidence in new techniques.
Nice.
It's ICAST week, right? ICAST is going on, so there's going to be a lot of new stuff coming out. But, sometimes you always want to go back to the tried and true. That's why I was 5 years behind on a biffle bug. And then I learned it and went, oh, this is not as weird as I thought it was. So, but yeah, Frank will talk about that on that. So that's all we got for tonight. We'll talk to everybody then. See ya.